everyone, this is Indu. I hope you are doing well. In today's video, I will cover with you what is the REST API. So it's also very important question if you are giving a .NET interview. So firstly, a question is what is the full form of REST API? So full form of REST API is representational state transfer application programming interface, and its a definition is REST APIs is the way for two application to talk to each other over the internet by using HTTP method. For example, if I can explain you with the help of simple example, you have in the backend you are using a .NET Core, and in the front end you are using Angular. So that application are working independently, and you are adding data from the front end, and your data will be saved in your backend. So both are communicate to each other and work independently. That's called a REST API. REST APIs is a stateless. It means it is independently. It will work stateless web service that uses HTTP method to perform a CRUD operation. CRUD means create, read, update, delete operation on resources, usually exchanging data in the JSON format. For example, in the front end, you can send any data in the JSON format. Like that way, you are passing a name, ID, and email, and you can save this data. For example, in the backend, if you have a users table, so you can save that data in the users table. So this is same here I am writing. So why next question is why REST API is used to send or receive data between front end and back end, and it's used in web apps, mobile apps, and microservices. Works with JSON, and it is a platform independent. Works on Angular, React, Android, and these are the five HTTP method. So first one is the HTTP GET. So I can show you here. For example, this is my application in backend. So firstly I will show you here. So here I can make a simple CRUD operation. For example, if I am getting any data from the database, so that time I will use HTTP GET. So every time when we are fetching data from the database, that time we can use HTTP method. This is called a HTTP method. HTTP method get. HTTP get method to get all the students from the database. And same here, we can use a get by id. That time same we can use a HTTP get. And the next one is a post we can use when we want to add a new record in the database. Post we can use post method. we can use we are using to add a new student in the database. So that time we can use a post. Next one is update, when we want to update data in the database. Put method we are using to update student in the database because it's a table is a student. And the next one is HTTP delete for the if we want to delete. And next one another is the HTTP patch. It's also work for a update. You can update any one field from the, for example, I can show you here. You have a multiple fields in the database and you want only change name. So with the help of this patch you can easily change a name. But here for now we are using put. So put for update. And next one is delete method is using to delete a student or record from the database. So here I can implement RESTful APIs, and here these URL I will share to a front end developer who are working in the Angular. So it's a work independently. Like for example, here I will share this URL to the front end developer. For example, I will share you API and this is my URL, this is my controller name student, and this is the method name get all. So the front end developer only hit this method and he will get this record, student record. And the next here it will need to add here the front end developer will send the ID. For example, he will send the ID 1. So I will backend developer will fetch that ID with the help of get by ID sync, because here we can use a sync and await and give to the front end developer. Next one is the add. Here the front end developer in the request body, here in the from body, he will send all the details in the student for the student table. For example, his name, description, all the fields that it added here, name or description. And here we can added that fields in our method. For example, here we can implement a dependency injection also. So like that way, uh, we can work independently, not dependent to each other. You can easily add the data. So in the front end developer, you just pass these the URLs only, and he will fetch your records. Only you need to enable your course from here in the program.cs file. And for example, if we want a get, so he will pass the URL like that way, and he will hit this API, and we can fetch that record with the help of get by id async, and return that record. Next one is add. Add also works same like that way. We can get that value from the request body and the from body, and we can add the new record. Same for update. And here in the delete, same we can get the ID, and we can delete that record. So like that way RESTful APIs is working, and it's a very important question for the .NET interview. And here we can implement dependency injection, and you also have to know which HTTP method we are using. So mainly we have a mainly four, but you can say five. HTTP get, when we want to get any record from the database, that time we can use the HTTP get. HTTP post, when we want to add a new record in the database. Put for update, patch also for update, and delete for delete. So these are the important points in any interview. And the one another most important question, so if you have a secure data that and you want to get data from the database, that time we can't use the HTTP get. That time we can use the HTTP post, because when you have a secure data, that time we can't use HTTP get, we can use the HTTP post. So I also write here, when we have when we have secure data, that time we can't use HTTP get method. That time we can use HTTP most. That time we can use HTTP method to get any data from the database. Why we can use why we can use here HTTP post? Because you can see here, if we get any record from the database, so it will showing like that way in the URL in the HTTP get. For example, you are a login with the username and password, so your URL will be like that way: student slash login. For example, login slash username and password. So in the query parameter here, you can pass the username admin, and password is this 123. So if we get use here HTTP get, so anyone can easily fetch our data and reuse, and you can say it will reuse our important username and password, and you can say your login credentials. So that's why we are using here HTTP post, because in HTTP post your request will be simple like that way. Like that way, and you can get uh, in the from body, not directly in the URL. So this is also important point in a .NET interview. And the next one is same, These are the REST API URLs that we can give to a front-end developer. This is for the get all users, get by ID, to create user, to update user, and to delete user. And this is the format when you can add any record, update any record. So these, like that way, it will showing the JSON. I will show you from here. For example, I will run this application. So this is sometime interview will ask you same question, like if you have a secure data, that time which API you are using. So that time to secure, but is your secure API, that time we can use HTTP GET. And its a key point is it's a stateless, and each request is independent, no server memory for the previous request. So like that way HTTP REST API will work. So it's a URL like that way. If you can make control user, sorry, controller for the user, so URL will be like that way. If you make for the order, so URL will be like that way. And if you make for products, so URL will be like that way. We have a separate URL for the every controller. That way REST API will be working. Here we can use REST stateless, and they are working independently from front end both side. And here we can use HTTP methods, and like that way it's a JSON format and it's a stateless. So these are the important points related to REST API. So I hope this video will be helpful for you. Please like, share, comment on this video. It's really motivates me to make the next video. Thanks for watching. Bye bye.